Hi, good morning. My name is Christopher Scales, and I work for a company called STAR. And today I am going to talk to you about digital therapeutics. What we're going to do is we're going to look at some major players who are leading this fast emerging digital health category. The benefits of DTX is very clear. They have the potential to deliver evidence-based health outcomes. They can relieve the burden on the system by fueling patient autonomy, and they can reduce the costs attributed to medical non-adherence, essentially people not taking their medicine. However, what we're seeing is that the success is very much dependent on patients' willingness to adopt and stay engaged in a digital therapeutic plan. And in this talk, what I'm going to do is I'm going to discuss the way in which we see this being done on the market. Firstly, a little bit about the company I work for. As I said, I work for a company called STAR. STAR is a global organization that designs and builds digital products and services. And please go and visit us at star.global. A little bit about myself. I am the Director of Strategy in STAR's Health and Wellness practice. I have a 20-year background in product design and strategy. I've held various positions in strategic design consulting and within internal corporate design groups. STAR is, as I said, a global organization. We have 750 people. We are spread across 11 locations globally. We were born and bred in Silicon Valley. We come with a startup mindset, and we've been in business for 12 years. We offer end-to-end capabilities across three core pillars: strategy, design, and engineering, and we tie those together into one seamless, efficient workflow. We are organized according to industries, and health and wellness is one of our core industries in our business. And we are fully certified to work on a number of different technology engagements. So let's talk a little bit about the study that we did. So in order to arrive at these principles, we studied an array, in fact, 33 digital applications. The applications that we looked at covered a range of diseases, diabetes, addiction, oncology, cognitive impairments, and mental health. And one of our key observations is, although digital therapeutics as a digital health category is still very much in its infancy, there's a lot of very, very strong product design out there. What we're witnessing is, how healthcare is, fast becoming consumerized in terms of user experience. The quality of the product out there is often on par with many of the direct consumer applications that we use on a daily basis. And I think what we're seeing here is a response and an acknowledgement from the DTX players in terms of how the consumer or the patient is becoming increasingly discerning, where their level of expectation for user experience is getting higher by the day. And when we conducted the research into this space, we also looked at some of the categories that sort of exist around digital therapeutics, mainly digital fitness, digital wellness, and also what we call digital health. And when we talk about digital health, we're talking about digital tools and services that are not only or exclusively being designed for patients. There's a lot of great applications out there right now which are being designed for healthcare professionals to drive operational efficiencies and effectiveness in clinical situations. Fitness is an interesting space. There's a lot happening there. It's an area that STAR has worked in quite prevalently. And what we're seeing in fitness is, there's a lot of similarities in terms of what's happening in the digital fitness space and digital therapeutics. Ultimately, it's about motivating users to drive behavior change, and also about keeping them engaged in some sort of plan. Wellness, digital wellness is a huge overlap now between digital wellness and digital therapeutics. If you take diabetes, for example, where nutritional intake plans are becoming a key component to a digital therapeutic solution for diabetes. And obviously, when we looked at all these, we started to see some patterns emerge, and those patterns, are the tactics that are being used to keep patients engaged. And we're seeing this these patterns exist across this landscape of digital tools that we're seeing, and these patterns will essentially set the direction for the principles that we're going to present to you today. In order to fuel engagement, it's important for any DTX player to understand the deep underlying needs of the patient from the get-go. Because ultimately, what this is about is you need to understand how, through a user experience, you can resonate to your target user on a much deeper level. Because ultimately, resonating them through what we call the engagement drivers, things such as giving them a sense of prestige, achievement, belonging, safety. If you can try to convey that sense or that experience to the user through your application, that's how you're going to get them to stay engaged in a treatment plan for the long term. Ultimately, on the left, we call these the engagement drivers. On the right, we have the adoption drivers. And ultimately, these are the functionality and feature sets that we're consistently seeing across the digital therapeutic landscape. But what they'll do, they will serve as adoption drivers. They're basically things that are going to pull the user into the application, but the novelty of these things will eventually wear off. So it's very, very important that you resonate to them at a deeper level to avoid that from happening. Here are the 10 principles that we've shown, and again, inspired by what we've seen on the market today. And what we're going to show you is going to go through each principle, and we're going to give you examples of how that principle is being manifested by various digital therapeutic applications. So the first one is what we call feeling a sense of control. So, everyone needs to feel that they're in control of a condition or disease. They want to understand how it behaves. They want to see patterns in its behavior, and they want to understand that correlation between time, trigger, and symptoms. And feeling that sense of control is ultimately a way of relieving the anxiety of going through having a condition or a disease. It gives a certain sense of mastery over that condition. Reset O by Therapeutics on the left. This is about treating opioid use disorder. They are helping patients to understand how emotional triggers are affecting cravings over time. One Drop by Diabetes is offering a feature called health forecasting, powered by data science and artificial intelligence. Patients can basically receive an accurate prediction of where their glucose levels will be within the next 12 hours. Experience principle number 2, quantifying progress. What was clear was how all the players in the DTX space are defining a metric system in order to quantify patient progress. And the idea of having one's own score is quite obsessively engaging. First of all, it helps you to track and measure progress over time, but also it can help you to benchmark and compare yourself to other people, which is also a strong motivator. Sleepio on the left have developed a sleep efficiency score. It's the difference in time you spend sleeping versus the time you spend in bed. Better Therapeutics, they have a treatment score. This is an aggregate score based on aggregation of various data points that the tool is harvesting and aggregating from various sources such as weight, blood pressure, nutritional intake, and exercise. And then finally, neurotrack. In this instance, it's on a scale where the middle line is where you want to be able to aim for. In this instance, the cognitive composite score, which is based on a series of cognitive assessment tests to establish an individual's baseline. And in this instance, the patient has a score of 51. The baseline is 50, which is the median score of people that fall within the same demographic category as you. So in this instance, it's basically saying you are basically just a little bit, you're on par with what is expected. And then, just taking this a little bit further, there's a lot of progress bars being used. Tells you how far you've come, how far you have to go. Making progress explicit gives users a sense of accomplishment and purpose. And if you look at Happify here, Happify, the end game for Happify is well-being. And they've developed a measure for well-being, which is defined by a metric system against 5 skill sets. And through the app, users can participate in a range of science-based activities and games through which one score is correlated. In this screenshot, the user gains a sense of where they need to invest most effort to achieve well-being. So, this user needs to focus on their giving and empathy skills. Brain Plus Recover, a digital therapeutic for cognitive decline, gives insights into their brain profile. And Cognoa, it's an ADHD. It's actually for parents of children with ADHD, and this helps parents understand their child's progress across 7 key development areas, such as motoric skills, social skills, and language development. Making achievements tangible is the 4th principle here. It's a way of measuring the progress you've made. Achievements can highlight what you've gained, what you've lost, or what you have presented, and it can, it's a measure that can actually be a reward for one's effort and commitment. Quit Genius, a smoking cessation application, they're measuring. They're very innovative in the way they're actually trying to measure progress. So 60 minutes of your life won back. They're highlighting what you've prevented as opposed to what you have gained, as opposed to, and that's the same as what we're seeing, what One Drop by Diabetes is doing. They're highlighting how much weight you've lost over a period of time. Community is a very, very important part of driving engagement through these applications. And I think there's something very powerful about this idea of shared accountability, with a community of peers to collectively achieve a goal. That it's a way of enhancing one's sense of duty as a team player. Making a public pledge, is a really powerful way to fuel one's sense of obligation to remain, on track. Clickertine on the left is a tool by Digital Therapeutics. Users can assign supporters who track their progress. And those supporters can hold that user accountable to the commitment or pledge they have made. In contrast to Daybreak, which is dealing with alcoholism, this community offers anonymous peer support, where patients can connect anonymously and share experiences. And then there's this concept of how am I doing versus everyone else, comparing yourself to others. There's that can give one reassurance that you're not the only one experiencing symptoms. Click Therapeutics, another great example. You're not alone. 229 users feel the same cravings today, and even this is used in the oncology space, where you can gain a certain level of reassurance. You're not the only one experiencing a certain symptom at a certain point of time. Obviously, direct access to a certified access or certified guidance from a pro. We saw many examples of telehealth examples. Primarily, this is happening through chat, where you can talk, to a certified professional. Some applications are embedding live video links. We're also seeing remote patient monitoring applications. This can also be through integrations with some sort of wearable or sensor that enables a care professional to monitor a patient's adherence to a program remotely and make interventions when necessary. Here are some examples that we're seeing. As I said, chat is primarily being used. I want to highlight ZocDoc on the right. This is not a telehealth platform. This is actually a telehealth platform in the US, not a DTX application. What I think is really interesting here is a classic example of how healthcare is being consumerized, where suddenly the consumer or the patient is empowered to have a little bit more choice in terms of which healthcare professional they want to choose. Like Airbnb or Uber, HCPs are now being rated on a number of metrics. In this instance, we're seeing bedtime manner and wait time. Besides remote access to a certified professional, an alternative is virtual assistants or AI coaches. There's a place for chatbots, AI coaches in this space. That potential of that availability anytime, anywhere. They're not human, but they can give relevant information. This is like an FAQ, but more interactive. But they can also nudge you, they can encourage you and guide you through a tutorial or a challenge. We saw different types, primarily chat, but also there's some voice assistants coming through. Kaya Health is a good example. And then also some interesting stuff happening in the avatar space. The one on the right is an application by a company called 20 Billion. It's a avatar fitness coach, and what that does is it uses voice as well as computer vision, and it will take you through certain exercises. It will show you the exercise. The avatar will perform the exercise. You will repeat it, and then using computer vision, it will give the user correctional feedback in real time. Having an avatar with voice can really fuel the chemistry you have with a virtual assistant, because you can start to play with things like facial expression, gesture, body language, tone of voice, gender, age. Users in the future will even be able to customize their avatar so they can create a personality or a character that they feel a synergy with. Experience and effortless interactions. This is a very important one. The integrity of a patient's data is highly dependent on their willingness and ability to actively track the necessary data. It requires discipline. Some solutions offer dedicated devices, such as wearable sensors or applications to partially automate this process. But however, at the end of the day, the majority of the examples we're seeing rely heavily on active tracking. And in order for that to be effective and for it to work and to have rich data, it's important that those interactions are effortless from the user's point of view. And also Playful is a very, very powerful way of getting to actually do things. And these are ways of reducing the barrier of people actually not tracking their behavior on a daily basis. The one that I like the most is the Feel by Sentio Solutions, which is you will track your emotions on a number of points across the day, and you do that by clicking and dragging on the face to animate the expression that animate the expression, so you can communicate how you feel at that point in the day. And then obviously looking beyond that, we're seeing outside of digital therapeutics in the digital health space, we're also seeing new technologies emerging, which are being designed to track data more effectively. So things like digital biomarkers and natural language processing are technologies that we would anticipate to become more prevalent in digital therapeutics in the future. If you take Mindstrong, for example, Mindstrong, it collects data from the smartphone to measure cognition and emotion. And the way it does that, it tracks how patients passively use their smartphones, by typing, swiping, and scrolling. And by doing that, they can measure things like stress, mental health and well-being. And this is a very effective way of solving that problem of getting people to track data on a regular basis. And then finally, as we move into fun-sized learning, this is about learnings and tutorials, lessons and tutorials. This is prevalent in all of them, and I think at the end of the day, it's important to make these feel fun, making them easy to consume like a snack, and we're seeing a number of really nice examples there. Okay, so there are the 10 examples. Just an FYI for everyone, if you want to get a copy of these, there is a report available at www.star.global. So go check it out, and feel free to download it. And again, as I said, DTX is still in its infancy, and what we're seeing, there's obviously immense potential to grow this category to solve patient adherence across a broader scope of conditions and diseases. So, I'll finish with some food for thought. What we're seeing is how healthcare is becoming consumerized. I said that before. And at the end of the day, it's important to remember when you're designing a product that patients are consumers first and are having more options than ever. Their expectation is continuously rising, and they'll drop you at a moment's notice if you lose their interest. And this is why investing in design up front is so important, because it's going to radically increase the chances of a digital therapeutic delivering efficacy. Design is not just about beautiful screens. It's about prioritizing, adapting, and refining the functionality of these principles so they are relevant to the needs of the patient being treated. And in order to do this, one is required to invest in a rigorous design thinking process up front, a process that requires research to uncover insight in the target patient's pains, needs, and desires. That can be translated into digital experiences that will truly resonate and drive their engagement through a treatment plan. Thank you.